I want you to picture a Sunday morning. Lazy, quiet, the kind of morning where you are still in your pajamas at 10 a.m. and the coffee is perfect and there is nowhere you need to be and no reason to rush. That was my Sunday morning, until the doorbell rang. My name is Sophie. I had been married to James for 3 years. We had a home I loved, a life that felt, from every angle I could see it from, solid and real and entirely ours. I was in the kitchen when I heard the bell. James was upstairs. I called up to him. "Can you get that?" And went back to my coffee. He didn't answer. I called again. Silence. I put my mug down and went to the door myself. I opened it. A woman was standing on my doorstep, late 20s, pretty in a tired way. The particular tiredness of someone who hasn't slept properly in a long time. She was holding a baby against her shoulder, small, maybe 8 or 9 months old. The baby was asleep. She looked at me with an expression I could not immediately read. "Is James home?" she asked. Something about the way she said his name. Not is Mr. Whatever home, just James. With the particular familiarity of someone who has said it thousands of times, in thousands of different tones, over a significant period of time, made me go very still. "Can I ask who you are?" I said. She looked at me for a moment, then at the baby, then back at me. "My name is Alicia," she said. "I was with James for 4 years. Before you." I heard footsteps on the stairs behind me, and then I heard them stop. I did not turn around immediately. I kept my eyes on Alicia, on her face, on the sleeping baby against her shoulder. And then I turned around. James was standing at the bottom of the stairs, completely still, looking at the woman on our doorstep with an expression that told me, before a single word was spoken, before any explanation was offered, before anything, everything I needed to know. If your heart just stopped, stay with me. Subscribe to this channel right now. Because what happened in the next 2 hours changed my life completely. And I need you to hear how it ends. I stepped back from the door. "Come in," I said to Alicia. James made a sound, not quite a word. Something between protest and resignation. I did not look at him. I kept my eyes on Alicia as she stepped into the house I had decorated and maintained and made into a home over 3 years. She sat on the couch. The baby stirred slightly and settled back into sleep against her shoulder. I sat across from her. James remained standing, in the particular way of someone who has not yet decided whether to run or stay and has ended up doing neither. "Start from the beginning," I said to Alicia. "Please." She looked at James once. He said nothing. She looked back at me, and she told me everything. They had been together for 4 years, from when James was 26 until he was 30. The relationship had ended, James had told her, because he was not ready for commitment. He needed space. He needed time. The classic, comfortable explanation of a man who has decided to leave without offering the real reason. 8 months after they ended, Alicia discovered she was pregnant. She had tried to contact James multiple times. Phone calls that went unanswered. Messages that were read and not replied to. One email, carefully written, factual, simply asking him to call her, that received no response. By the time she understood that he was not going to respond, she was 5 months pregnant and had made her peace, slowly and painfully, with doing it alone. The baby's name was Oliver. He was 8 months old. He had James's eyes. I could see it from across the room. The particular shape of them, the color, the way they had looked briefly, when Oliver had stirred a moment ago before settling back to sleep. I sat with that for a moment. Then I looked at James. He was looking at the baby, and in his expression, underneath the panic, underneath the calculations, I could practically watch him making something else. Something that looked uncomfortably like recognition. "You knew," I said. "Not a question." He closed his eyes briefly. "I wasn't sure," he said. "She said she was pregnant. I didn't know if it was—" "You didn't know," I said slowly. "So you chose not to find out." He said nothing. "You chose," I said, "not to find out. And then you met me, and you built a life with me, on top of something you had chosen not to look at, The room was very quiet. Alicia was watching me with an expression I recognized. The particular expression of someone who expected anger, who had braced for a reaction directed at her, and was encountering something else entirely. I was not angry at Alicia, not even slightly. She had come to my door on a Sunday, morning with a sleeping baby and the particular courage of someone who has been alone with a truth too long and has finally decided it deserves to be known. I was something else entirely, something colder and more clarifying than anger. I stood up. "Alicia," I said, "can I get you some water or tea?" She blinked. Yes, tea, thank you." I went to the kitchen. I made tea. I moved through the familiar motions of my own home, with a steadiness that surprised me. And while the kettle boiled, I made 2 decisions. The first, about what I was going to say to James. The second, about what I was going to do after. I brought the tea back. I sat across from Alicia again. James had not moved from his position near the stairs. Still standing, still doing that calculation I could see running behind his eyes. I looked at him. "Sit down," I said. "Please." He sat. What followed was the most honest conversation the 3 of us would ever have. I asked questions. Alicia answered. James answered. I listened to all of it and the timeline, the decisions, the choices made and not made, the particular architecture of how a man can build a new life on top of an old one and convince himself the foundation is solid. When there was nothing left to say, when every question had been asked and answered, I turned to Alicia. "Oliver deserves to know his father," I said. "That is a separate conversation from everything else, but it's the one that matters most right now." She looked at me for a long moment. "I didn't come here to cause problems," she said quietly. "I know," I said. "You came here because your son deserves the truth. That's not causing problems. That's doing the right thing." She left an hour later, with James's phone number, given by me, not him, with an agreement that he would call her within 24 hours to discuss what Oliver's life would look like going forward. James and I sat in silence after the door closed. "Sophie, I need you to not speak right now," I said. "I need you to give me today, and tomorrow I will tell you what I have decided." He nodded. I spent that evening at my sister's house. I told her everything. She held my hand and said nothing for a long time and then said, "Whatever you decide, I am with you." That is what love sounds like. I decided, after a week of the most honest thinking I have ever done, to leave. Not in anger, not with a scene, but with the clear, settled understanding that the man I had married had made a choice, repeatedly, over years, to avoid a truth that would have complicated his life. And that truth had a name, and that name was Oliver. And Oliver deserved better than to be someone's avoided complication. So did I. The divorce was quiet. James did not fight it. I think, when someone has looked at what they have done clearly enough, fighting feels less like a strategy, and more like an insult to everyone involved. James and Alicia worked out an arrangement for Oliver. I heard through people we once shared that he had stepped into fatherhood with more commitment than I might have expected. People sometimes are capable of being better than their worst choices. I moved into a new apartment, bright, mine, with a garden. I tend on weekends and mornings that belong entirely to me. Oliver will be 2 years old next month. I know this because Alicia, with whom I have had 3 quiet, honest, unexpectedly meaningful conversations since that Sunday morning, told me. Life arranges itself in strange ways. Here is what a Sunday morning and a doorbell and a sleeping baby taught me. The truths that arrive uninvited are the ones that set you free. They are not comfortable. They do not come at convenient times. But they come, and what you do when they arrive, with grace, with clarity, with the particular courage of someone who chooses truth over comfort, says everything about who you are. My husband's ex came to our door with a baby. His face said everything. And I listened, not to his face, to myself. If this story reached you, if it opened something, please share it right now with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for stories like this one every week. Leave a comment. Have you ever had a truth arrive at the worst possible moment? I want to hear it. I am always listening.